Why is it that some people are crushed by a single setback while others can weather any storm? In our world today, you'll notice two distinct types of people. One group lets the slightest difficulty shatter their day. The other carries immense burdens, yet their spirit remains unbroken. What's the secret difference between them? I want you to think for a moment about a person you know who seems to possess an unshakable calm. What do you imagine is happening inside them when trouble arrives? That's the mystery we are about to explore. And the answer is far more beautiful and far more within your reach than you might believe. It's not the absence of pain, but the capacity of the heart that holds it. Today, I want to share a transformative tale with you. It reveals a simple truth. If your inner world is confined, every minor hurt will overwhelm you. But if you expand it, life's greatest trials lose their power to destroy your peace. This principle feels almost like a secret law of nature, governing why two people can stand in the exact same storm, yet only one gets drenched to the bone. Listen closely. This isn't just a story to hear, it's a mirror for your soul. As the tale unfolds, I invite you to see where your own life, your own reactions, your own quiet struggles are reflected in the journey of the man you're about to meet. There was a man named Leo, whose life felt like a series of locked doors. A persistent cloud of discontent followed him. He was without work, strained with his family, and haunted by a future that seemed bleak. Each morning, he would wake with a familiar, heavy dread, a feeling that he was falling behind in a race no one had even told him he was running. The loneliness of his struggle was profound, because from the outside his problems might have seemed ordinary, manageable. But inside Leo's mind, they had swollen into monstrous, all-consuming shapes, blocking out any light of hope. One gray afternoon, seeking solitude from his own thoughts, Leo walked into a quiet village tea house. He cradled a warm mug, his mind a whirlpool of anxiety, replaying every rejection and every worried comment from his family on an endless, torturous loop. At a nearby table, a conversation drifted over, not loud but clear in the quiet room. "Have you heard of the hermit by the northern woods?" one elderly gentleman murmured, his voice like dry leaves. "They say he possesses a quiet magic. Not spells or potions, mind you, but a way of seeing. My nephew was in a dark place, so tangled in his own thoughts he could barely function. But after one afternoon with him, he found a new light. Didn't get a new job or fix his problems overnight, but the way he held them, it changed completely." Another nodded slowly, stirring his tea. "Yes, exactly, he doesn't give answers. He somehow widens your perspective. It's as if he gives you a new pair of eyes to see your own life with." Leo's attention was instantly captured. A spark of desperate hope flickered within, so faint he almost dismissed it, but it was the first spark he'd felt in months. If there's even a chance, he thought, his heart beginning to beat a little faster against his ribs. If this man could do that for another, maybe he could do it for me. I have nothing left to lose. I have to find him. As dusk painted the sky in muted oranges and purples, Leo made his way to the edge of the northern woods. The air grew cooler, filled with the scent of pine and damp earth. After a long contemplative hike, where every step was a prayer mixed with doubt, he found a modest cabin nestled between tall, silent trees. Smoke curled from a simple chimney. An elderly man with calm eyes that seemed to hold the stillness of the forest itself opened the door before Leo could even knock. "Sir," Leo began, his voice tight with emotion, all his rehearsed words collapsing into raw need. "My life is filled with thorns. Every path I try cuts me. I feel a constant aching sorrow. Can you tell me how to find happiness? Please just tell me what to do." The wise man listened in complete silence, his gaze unwavering and patient. He absorbed not just Leo's words, but the tremor in his hands, the shadow in his eyes. Then, without a word, he turned and walked into the dim interior of his home. Leo, though bewildered, his hope teetering on the edge of embarrassment, waited. He stood on that threshold, the chill of the evening seeping into his bones, wondering if this was all a foolish mistake. Minutes later, which felt like an eternity, the man returned. In one hand, a clear glass of water filled to the brim. In the other, a small ceramic bowl full of coarse gray salt. He placed them on a weathered stump between them. "Take a pinch of this salt," the hermit instructed, his voice low and even, "and stir it into the water. Make sure it dissolves completely. Then take a drink." Leo did as he was told, his fingers clumsy. He watched the salt swirl and disappear into the clear liquid. He raised the glass and took a tentative sip. The water was harsh, undrinkably bitter, shocking on his tongue. "It's ruined," He coughed, putting the glass down with a grimace. Now, the old man said, his expression unreadable. Take another generous pinch. A good portion, and follow me. They walked in silence along a narrow path that wound through the trees. The only sounds their footsteps and the distant call of an evening bird. They emerged at the edge of a vast, still lake that perfectly reflected the deepening twilight sky, doubling the world's beauty. Cast the salt into the water, the hermit said, gesturing towards the immense placid surface. Leo opened his hand, letting the white crystals fall from his fingers. They hit the surface with a faint, almost inaudible whisper and vanished into the deep blue mystery below. Now taste the lake, the man urged, a hint of a command in his gentle tone. Leo knelt, cupped his hands, brought the cold, clear water to his lips and drank. It was clean, fresh, and pure, carrying the faint, sweet chill of the deep earth. How does it taste? Asked the hermit, already knowing the answer. Like water, Leo replied, astonished, looking from his empty hands to the immense lake. The salt is gone, I can't taste it at all. A gentle smile, the first Leo had seen, touched the old man's face, softening the lines around his eyes. He placed a warm, reassuring hand on Leo's shoulder, a touch that felt like an anchor in the quiet dusk. The hardship you carry, he said softly, his words falling into the silence like stones into the deep, is like that salt, a fixed amount for every life. Some get a little more, some a little less, but no one is given a bowl that is empty. The bitter taste isn't determined by the salt itself, but by the container you ask it to dissolve into. You have been pouring all your salt into a very small, fragile glass, and then wondering why your whole world tastes of despair. Your heart is the container. Keep it small, and every pain will poison you. This is not a metaphor for ignoring your pain, but for understanding its rightful place in the vast landscape of your being. If your spirit is the size of a glass, a single disappointment will taint everything. One setback colors your entire day, one harsh word ruins a relationship, one failure defines your self-worth. But if you cultivate a spirit as vast and deep as this lake, if you nurture patience, gratitude, and a connection to something larger than your immediate self, the same measure of difficulty will simply become part of a greater whole, losing its power to dominate. The salt doesn't vanish. It is absorbed into an expanse so great it loses its potency to corrupt. Don't shrink from your problems. Expand to meet them. Growth is not the elimination of struggle, but the development of a space within you where struggle can reside without ruling you. This is the essence of resilience, the hermit continued, his gaze fixed on the darkening water. We all encounter salt. The lesson isn't to avoid it, but to grow so large, so deep in your character, your compassion, and your understanding, that it cannot define your entire existence. When you feel bitterness rising, when anger or sadness threatens to flood you, that is your signal. That is the moment to pause and ask yourself the most important question. Am I reacting as a glass, or am I choosing to respond as a lake? The hermit fell silent, letting the lesson settle in the space between them, carried on the gentle lapping of the water against the shore. Leo looked out at the lake, then down at his own empty hands, and for the first time in years he felt not the crushing weight of his problems, but the stirring of a new possibility, the possibility of expanse. Let this story sit with you. Carry it into your week. The next time a difficulty arises, a stressful email, a personal conflict, a moment of self-doubt, remember the glass and the lake. If this tale resonated, if it offered a moment of clarity that felt like a deep breath of fresh air, please support this channel. A like means the world to us here at Winds of Thought, helping these messages reach more people who need to hear them. Your support is the wind that carries this thought forward. Share your reflections in the comments below. Tell us in this moment which container feels more familiar to you. Thank you for listening and for being here.